for doing both, wearing both hats today. Really appreciate your energy this morning, and have a good one today.
Thank you.
I have the pleasure of introducing somebody that I've been working with. She's been coaching about 5 years. And I have to say, I love working with her. She's incredibly professional and she had an incredible year. And I do want to let you know that she hit the number 3 spot in the company as a 2020 elite top 10 coach. We're very, very proud of her. It is her second time in the top 10. She's also a superstar diamond coach. She's also a member of our coach advisory board. She has spent 57 months in Success Club, so that makes her an all-star legend, and that is pretty remarkable. Also, in 2019, I just found out she had the most diamonds, paid diamond coaches on her team than that she acquired during the year, more than anyone else, and the most success starters, which she's going to talk about a lot today. Plus, she was a success starter herself. So she not only coaches people to be a success starter, but she started out as one herself. So from Charleston, South Carolina, I didn't have it written down. Oh, yes. Moira Kucaba. Come on in, Moira.
Hi, guys. Oh, my gosh. I can't believe that was me, honestly.
I can, because 5 years ago, you came and you busted down the walls. And I remember that. And I just remember all of our conversations. You are professional. You know how to run a business. And I love the topic today. Let's go back almost 5 years ago. Let everybody know what brought you to Beachbody.
Gosh, I love to point out that I did not come into this planning on coaching at all. It was never on my radar. I love when I hear top coaches say that. I feel like it's so many of our stories. I was really just like a hot mess when I got here. I'd been a business owner all my life. So I had a Pilates studio for a lot of years. And then I sold that business and decided to open up a cold pressed juice company. And when I stumbled into Beachbody, I had that business for about 2 years at that point. We had taken out a 6-figure loan to start that business. My kids were maybe 2 and 3 years old. And so 3 and 4 by the time I started Beachbody, and I was just underwater. It was killing me with the time commitment. The business was killing me from a financial commitment. We had actually borrowed against our house to continue to invest in that business. So it was just an extremely stressful time in my life. And ironically, I was at my absolute unhealthiest running a cold pressed juice company because everything was just kind of unraveling around me. And I was invited into a boot camp. And so the other kind of backstory for me is that I'd struggled with disordered eating for decades and tried everything out there and signed up and, for everything that was thrown my way because I was so desperate for a solution. And never in a million years did I think that solution would be found in Beachbody, but it was. So I was a challenger first and a very bad challenger. I was never one to participate in a challenge group. I kind of was just the fly on the wall and 1 foot in, 1 foot out. And coaching is truly what transformed my life. My coach finally told me after a year of me struggling in her boot camp, and she probably said this way more than once, but she said, I think you're like me and you are always going to eventually let yourself down. But if you had to show up for other people, it's my bet you would never let them down. And she really explained to me that's the magic of coaching. And so even though I had no desire to coach at all and didn't think I was at all in a place to do that, it was really just a last ditch effort to save myself. And then I fell in love with it. Yeah.
I'm back because you had said that you started your cold pressed business and your juicery, and you had so much to do as a business owner that it was stressing you out. And now you're still a business owner of coaching, but in a completely different way that is fueling you. And it's just been really nice to have you as a coach because you understand how business works and you got right to, enrolling. So let's go straight into the call with why this topic and share with the audience what it means to you.
Yeah, Success Club and Success Starters, and Sandy and I were chatting before the call, and just to clarify what Success Starters is, it was always hitting Success Club your first few months in a row, consecutively in the business, and it's shifted now it's 3 months out of the first 6 months, which is such an incredible gift and such an incredible shift, I think, that corporate's given us. But to me, it's always been just the foundation to building this business. I really hit Success Club my first few months, helping 3 people each month by the skin of my teeth. I had no idea what I was doing. I wasn't trying to be a coach. I was trying to bring my girlfriends in to join me so I would stay accountable. It was totally selfish. And then I remember my coach saying, you'll get a free ticket to Coach Summit if you're a success starter. I totally didn't believe her. I thought everybody probably gets a free ticket. But when I became a success starter, it was the momentum that I needed. I got recognition from my coach. I got shouted out on social media. You guys gave me recognition. And I started to really think maybe this is an actual thing. And ironically, it was my 4th month. So going into my 4th month of coaching was Team Cup. It was Team Cup, you guys. And that is where I can tell you everything changed for me. And I can say the same for some of my top coaches on my team. Team Cup was the game changer. You get into this team culture, this little mini team, and for me at least, I was willing to get more outside my comfort zone for the team than I ever would have been willing to do for myself. So you guys, Success Club and Success Starters, and now you get to get in a test group. Like it's insane. That is truly the biggest opportunity you can possibly be given to just start your business off to the greatest start. So how do I create success starters? You want me to jump right in, Sandy? Kind of my process?
You're doing great. Go right ahead.
I'll go right into it. So you guys, I have coaches that come to me and they want to do what I'm doing. They want to become coaches. And so once they enroll, I kind of put the brakes on them. And I do that because I can't help but look back at my own journey. And if I had been overwhelmed and put in, coach trainings and just told, given a tracker and all this stuff, I think I would have honestly run for the hills. It would have just been too much for me. So I look back at the fact that I fell in love with this. My life completely changed and transformed in those first few months. And I fell in love with helping people, not because I wanted to hit Success Club, not because I was trying to fill a tracker out every single day, although that is so important. I fell in love with helping people. And so the love of this came before the business came. So when my coaches first enroll, within a few days, I get them on what I call a kickoff call. And we all get together. Well, let me back up. The first thing I do right when they enroll is I put them on a message thread. And I say, you guys are my new coaches. You just signed up. Why don't you introduce yourself? And so they've already started to form a community themselves. It might be 2 or 3 coaches. It might be 5 or 6 coaches. But they've started to have that little pod environment already. And then we get on a kickoff call face to face. And so that's where I truly give them a kickoff into their personal journey. It's really a deep dive for an hour into the 4 vital behaviors. So we go into, where they can find their workouts, how they can access their nutrition plan. We talk about Shakeology. We talk about personal development. And it's really my hope in that call just to get them inspired to take action on their own journey. So they have all the tools that they need to hit the ground running the next day to start their workouts, to start their nutrition, to start their personal development. And we get off the call and they're all on this thread and we are talking every single day. Every single day, I'm reminding them and checking in with them and giving them that extra layer and push to show up every single day for themselves. Now, I am not necessarily completely putting the brakes on them business-wise. I am telling them my story. I am telling them that had I not reached out to my 2 best friends, had I not reached out to my 2 best friends when I was a coach, but wasn't really, and asked them to join me, I'd never be here today, because it's so difficult sometimes to see the change in our own lives, but we can see it in other people's lives. And when my friends came to me with literal tears of gratitude for helping them, and they were telling me how much their lives were changing, I was given the fire to reach out to more people and more people and more people. So without that kind of organic bringing in of the friends, and you're getting business wins without trying to get business wins. So your coaches feel ahead of the game instead of completely overwhelmed. Some of them absolutely hit Success Club that month. And it's such a huge, exciting thing because they're not necessarily trying to, right? So that's where we are for the first 3 weeks, just in that message thread every day. They're in the accountability group, and we are I'm encouraging them to reach out, to invite friends and family, but I'm mainly encouraging them to show up for themselves.
Hey, Moira, that was a really great intro. And a few people are asking on Facebook, how many of these pods do you start out with? Or how soon do you start them and how often?
So I do a pod as soon as coaches sign up. So they're in a pod immediately, like within a day or two of them enrolling, they're in a pod. And I end up doing, I'll do a couple sneak peeks, or coaches come in over the course of the month. I bring them into the same pod. So there's a January new coach pod. There will be a February new coach pod. And so each month, so there's one pod per month. After we get through those initial, I always start them off on the 21-day fix because it's like the best foundational program ever, I think. Once we get through those first 2 to 3 weeks, then we get on another face-to-face call. And that is truly our GSR call, our business getting started right call. That's when I start to introduce, because they've got a handle at that point. They know exactly what they're doing. So if someone were to say at that point, well, what are you inviting me to? Well, if they're actually doing it every single day, they know exactly what to say, and they're not handing over some scripted, response. They're having real conversations. And so on the GSR call, we go over Success Club. We go over success starters and all that comes with that. We go over what it means to become an emerald. We go over the business activity tracker. We go over kind of a deep dive into all the business things that they need to know. Does that make sense so far? So that's our GSR call. And then what I'm doing from that point on, you guys, they're still in the message pod. So that conversation, I'll always, of course, support them and remind them about their personal journey. That first 21 days or first two to 3 weeks, like their job is their journey. And I really say to them, phase 1 of your coach journey, your coach training is you. What an incredible opportunity. Then after they get off the GSR call, that message thread kind of shifts a little bit to, okay, who did their tracker today? How many invites have you sent out? What are you posting on social media? We're sharing social media posts and kind of helping people craft social media posts and helping people have conversations. So it's almost like they come in with their class. They have this class of coaches that are right where they are, and they're having that personal touch every single day to remind them to do things, to hold them accountable, to just celebrate them. That's another big thing that happens on the message thread. As soon as somebody gets a Success Club point on the board, I am in there shouting them out, celebrating them, recognizing them, making sure the other coaches don't feel, behind because they haven't gotten Success Club points yet. But we're making it a really big deal to recognize the people that are bringing in their friends. And then that conversation organically turns into, they're all friends at this point. Like, well, what did you say? How did you talk to them? Was it in person? Was it through Messenger? What are you doing? What are you saying? And, we see these coaches kind of rise to the top that are getting in Success Club, and they almost become like the natural leaders of that little pod. So they're feeling that leadership role in like month 1 or 2 of their coach journey. Questions, Sandy?
No, you're doing great.
Take a breath.
Yeah, well, you know what? I'm going to come on. There was a couple of system glitches, so it's great that you take a breath so the video can catch up with you. But everything has been superb, and people are asking. Here's a great question. You said you kind of backed off for about 3 weeks, but then are they still able to achieve Success Club when you kind of lay off the gas pedal a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they absolutely do. Like I said, a lot of coaches are hitting Success Club in month 1, but the priority is always their personal journey. They have to fall in love with this first. I'm absolutely encouraging them, just like I said in the beginning, to not miss that. Really, I almost feel like it's way easier for them to invite when they're getting ready to start their first challenge group. It's way easier to call up your girlfriends and say, getting ready to start this thing. I'm super excited. I'm not quite sure what I got myself into, but let's do this together. Let's hold each other accountable. There's like a nutrition plan, and there's workouts, and there's so much less pressure in those conversations early on when it's truly a let's do this together type of thing. And so they are signing people up. They are getting Success Club points or Success Club. And then that is just kind of the icing on the cake. I think an important thing to just reinforce why this is so important to me. I remember after my first full year in the business, I had mentored a lot of coaches. I had taken a lot of coaches through, coach basics and trainings and all of that. And at the end of that first full year, I had 7 diamonds. And I'm like very numbers research person. So I really did a deep dive into why these 7. Why did these, 30 or 40 people not have success? And why are these 7 girls diamonds and not going anywhere and still with me 5 years later almost? And what I realized was none of them had necessarily a huge social media following, the right background, the perfect body, like all the baloney that we think is going to make a top coach. What they all had was they fell in love with this. Like their life was completely changed as a result of the challenge group. Therefore, they had in their hearts a desire to pay this forward versus a coach that's coming in just trying to sell challenge packs. It gets hard, it gets uncomfortable, they don't hit the mark, they feel like a failure, and then they decide maybe this isn't for them. For me and those 7 women and most of my diamonds, I can say for all of us that even on the hard days, like quitting this is just not an option. It's almost an obligation and a responsibility that we have found something that has completely changed our life so much that we would just never stop. We would never, ever, ever stop sharing this opportunity. We would never not be a part of this. And going back to the power of those little message pods that start in the very first weeks of coaches signing up, I've had coaches say things to me like, gosh, once you come into this, like, you just can't leave, because they've built relationships in week 1, in month 1. And those relationships, at least for the people that I attract, even though a lot of us coming in, not being a fan of, women or friendships with women, because we all know how that can go. We find that it is absolutely the thing that sustains us and the reason why we would never, ever leave. Does that make sense? So the power of the pod is
yes. And Moira, it's a testament to you, because it's like you love it. You're passionate about it. So when people come in and they sense that, of course they don't want to leave. People want to leave if they see how hard it is or how negative, or they're like, I don't want to be in this. So you are showing that it can be great. And that is a testament of a great coach, is someone who shows what it can be like. So I appreciate that.
Well, and if you think about it, when you come into this journey and your life just completely transforms, you are so real in your conversations, and your energy is so high, and your excitement and your fire and your heart to truly serve and to help other people. It is not about a sales transaction. And so the best thing people can do, I know I've said it 1,000 times, but the best thing people can do as coaches, new coaches, or mentoring new coaches, is give people that experience. Because then it's not, well, what script do I give them? What information do I send them? It's not this sales job. It becomes this fire and this love. And the biggest change, the most successful coaches that I see have that life transforming experience inside and out, or one or the other, but they have an excitement, they have a fire, they have a love for this. And so, people will buy really, truly your emotional state. They don't buy products. They want to buy what they see in you, and I always tell my new coaches too, I'm like, if say you're in an office setting And, a month from now, you walk in and nothing in your life has changed. You're still negative, you're still depressed, you haven't lost a pound, and you tell someone to join your challenge group. Like, why are they going to want to join your challenge group? Once you have that light, once you come back to life and you have that light, people are attracted to that and people want that. And for everybody, and myself included, I need to hear this. Every single time my business seems to struggle and my business seems to dip and my numbers are down and I can hammer away at the business issue and like, what am I doing wrong? What do I need to fix? And then I'm like, oh, I'm not showing up. I am not excited about my workouts. I am not excited about my nutrition. Maybe, I'm not feeling good. And when I dial it back in and I recommit, my business takes off. So, I always say, like, how incredible is it that we're in this business where our business solution is found in our personal journey, even 4.5 years later. It's awesome.
I think about Carl, and if he were to just like fizzle out, and like we don't hear from him and he doesn't like get us motivated with some campaign or something, we would fizzle out. It's like the speed of the leader, right? And I talked to you earlier about this topic and how your enrollment process doesn't just end at startup. Mm-hmm. It is so apparent that you don't just sign people up. You get them involved, you get them in a message thread, you follow up, you see where their goals are 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, 5 weeks later. And I think that, can you talk a little bit about how that has helped with retention? I mean, you had your 7 people that don't want to leave.
Yeah. So I do want to dig just a little bit deeper into, so we have that original kickoff call. They're on their personal journey. We get on a GSR call, a business getting started right call. And then for the next 2 weeks, we're getting on a call again. So, people might be busy. They might not be able to get on. They might watch the recording. There's not that personal connection when you're watching a recording. So I get them on really 4 times in their first 6 weeks, face to face. And then we also put them in our team, New Coach University. So that's another place for them to plug in, to find success partners, to kind of go outside of their little mini New Coach pod bubble and develop relationships within the team. And I think also just on our weekly team calls, we are pouring into them all the time. I have an expression on my team. I always say, get in the middle of the bed. Get in the middle of the bed. It's like the middle of the pack, right? If you're on the edge, you will be picked off by fear, by insecurity, by the comparison game. But when you're in the middle of the bed and you are taking that initiative to develop relationships in your team, and you have these best friends that make you feel like once you come into this, you can never leave, then on those hard days, you're just not going to leave because your friends won't let you. And so continuing to develop those relationships, continuing to pour into the team and creating that team culture has been so huge for me from day one. And I really think that stems from being a solopreneur, an entrepreneur for so long. It was just me. It was just me. And I craved so desperately that connection, and that I always used to think to myself, I just want to sit around a table and mastermind with other women and work together, all on the same level. So I also have never, ever, ever, ever once seen myself as the head of Team Together Rising. I see us as a collective, and I see us truly as a team, everybody helping everybody. I never come up with an idea and say, this is what we're doing. I'm always coming up with ideas, but I'm saying, what do you guys think about this? Should we do this? Do you think this would work? And it's really very collaborative. I just had my diamond retreat, and this was the first year that I saw so many of my downline coaches have their own team retreats. And it was just an incredible thing to see. Yeah.
I'm here. I'm actually fired up right now because I love the name of your team, Together Rising. And you even have a planner, Rise Up.
I do. My computer's sitting on it, or I would show it to you.
But you know what really stuck with me, get in the middle of the bed. I'm in a lot of groups, and sometimes I just don't participate in the groups, and you fall off. You fall off the bed, just like with my husband, he pushes me off the bed. You fall off if you're on the edge. And then if you're in too deep, you're kind of not seeing what other people are communicating about. So it's an incredible visual reference of how to participate and to feel a part of membership. That's, the group membership, the community mindset is really what you're striving for. You were a lone solo entrepreneur that didn't have a community. So it's like you have your own business, but no community. Now you have a community and you have to build a business. I mean, it's perfect what you're sharing.
Well, and I also want to just plug here because I think a lot of times, I came into a team that was largely based in California. And so I remember being that new coach and thinking, if I just lived there, if I could just go to coffee with them, if I could just be at that team beach day. And I felt so unapart of, and I used that instead as inspiration and fire. And I was the only coach in Charleston, South Carolina. And now it's like we have taken over the city. And so I decided to create what I saw outside of my own self, and I built it. So if you are on a team or you feel like you're separate from your team, know that then you just need to take the power into your own hands and create it where you are. And it's absolutely possible.
Yeah. And I think you mentioned something about the tracker, I think the business activity tracker, the Success Club system, because I see that, we talk to a lot of coaches who have increased over time, have increased their earnings over time. And many of them say that they are tracking their business. So whether you use the business activity tracker or your own planner or your own tracking, can you say a few words about how important it is to see your progress and to track what you're doing?
Oh my God. Do you want to be here another hour? Like, tracking is everything. I mean, it's everything. I promise I won't keep you here another hour, but if we can only improve upon what we track or what we measure, what we track. I always tell my coaches this simple explanation. I'm like, if you come to me as a coach and you're at Success Club 2 or 4 repeatedly, and you say, Moira, I really want to get into Success Club, and I just keep trying, and I'm working so hard, and I'm putting in all these hours, and I can't make it over the hump. Or you want to take it from 10 to 20, whatever it is. I'm like, it's a very simple calculation. Like, how many invites are you sending out on average over the last 90 days? Double it. Like, it is truly, we can take the emotions out of our business when we are tracking behaviors. And y'all, like, nothing in my business or my personal life would ever come to fruition without the magic of tracking. And it just gives you that deep dive when you're struggling in something to go, why am I struggling in this? Let me look back and see where maybe I actually haven't been doing as good as I think. Because I know even for myself, when I sit down to invite, I can invite, and I don't realize I'm getting distracted or the phone's ringing or someone knocks on the door. And I can be like, whew, I've sent out a ton of invites. And then I look down and I'm like, how is that possible? I've only sent out 12. Because I'm tracking my invites. But if you're not tracking, you are probably misleading your own mind as to what you're actually doing. And it keeps you laser focused. Y'all, I had the national wake up call this morning. I flew in the house after I dropped my kids off, and I checked 9 things off my to-do list. I actually did what I usually do in a full day before the national wake up call, because I was like, I'm not going to have time to do this later. I got to get it done. And so if I didn't have that checklist, I would never be moving my business forward and my life, because I track other things in my life too, like I get to every single day. So tracking's everything.
Yeah, well, you're 3 hours ahead. I couldn't do very much before the wake-up call except make a shake. Anyway, thank you so much. I want to get to the close of the call. I would love for you to speak another hour, and that'll be for another day. But for now, Moira, what has coaching meant to you? What have you been able to see or do, or how rewarding has it been in the last almost 5 years?
Oh gosh, my heart just started racing. This is the hardest question of all. I always say yes, the financial success and freedom of this has been the biggest blessing. The house that I had on my vision board and dreamed up since I was a little girl, we just moved into a couple months ago. And it's such a gift. Actually, it was funny because when I spoke on the National Wake Up Call, I want to say 2 years ago, I talked about being able to gift my son tickets to an NBA game and take him on a plane, just me and him. And we're taking that same trip again this weekend. We're going to Houston to see a Rockets game. And like that kind of stuff wouldn't exist in my life. And it is a direct result of this. I also think about like my little girl popping into the back seat the other day and saying, "Mommy, do you want to hear the vision I have for my life?" And I was like, yes, I do. For those of you that know me well, you know I'm all about vision. That is a direct result of me doing this. Just this, past weekend, my son was playing a basketball game and he's shooting a foul shot, and the whole entire gym is like stomping their feet, trying to distract him. And I'm just sitting there in awe of my son's mental capacity to block it out, to get in the zone. And that is all because of what I have taught him, because what I've learned on this journey. My children are completely different children than they would be if I hadn't been on this path. We are changing families generationally. And I think about my team, y'all, I didn't want to be a coach. And when I first came into coaching, I just wanted to help challengers. I didn't know and understand the level that I was going to be able to change my coaches' lives, and that would become the greatest gift. I just want to share this really quick story. I remember my very first team Christmas dinner. We were all sitting there. There was about 12 of us, and a coach in my downline, not my personally sponsored, is somebody I've known for over a decade. She lives 1 block away, and our kids have grown up together in the same neighborhood, same school. And she's a yoga teacher, personal trainer. I was in the Pilates world. And she started to share about how coaching had changed her life. And she shared that she would get in the car at 5:30 in the morning to have to go train someone, and, then run across town to go teach a yoga class and go to another gym to teach a yoga class. And she was so spent and so not able to be there to even see her kids go to school or pick them up. And they were financially strapped. And to see how coaching has shifted all of that for her family, and to know that there was maybe just a small part that I played in that, it's the biggest gift that we could ever give someone. So it's just the ripple effect, the ripple effect of, yes, how it's changed my life and my marriage and my children, but the team, the families that I see that are completely restored because somebody took a chance on this. It's the most incredible work you could ever do in the world.
Thank you so much for sharing that. It sounds like you are a great mom, and I can tell you're a great coach. And that is an incredibly rewarding story. I really appreciate you sharing that. You made me tear up. And
Thanks.
I'm so glad that you have risen to the occasion, and Rise Up is the name of your planner. Thank you again, Moira. I'm going to end the call today with a quote, and it is, "Everything negative, pressure, or challenges is all an opportunity for me to rise." That's by Kobe Bryant. And I'm going to leave you all with that. Make it a fantastic week, everybody. Bye-bye.